Welcome back, everybody. I hope you're having a glorious weather day like I'm having today. It is very welcome, very grateful for this. I think a couple of weeks ago we were at 7 degrees Fahrenheit. We're somewhere around 67 today. Um, so definitely grateful for the opportunity to be outside and breathe the fresh air and be in nature and do some of those cleansing rituals that we talk about a lot and self-care and trying to declutter their mind. And that kind of leads me to what I'd like to talk about today. We have a lot on our plate these days. We have very busy schedules, a lot of um, job responsibilities, time restraints, family expectations, responsibilities, social expectations, responsibilities. So, a lot going on. And on top of our everyday busy lives, we have what I call the bad news. Seems like every time you turn on television, pick up a phone, some kind of iPad, or whatever your um, digital uh, outlet may be, it seems to be flooded with bad news, and that can really clutter our minds. It leads to a lot of trepidation, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, depression, anger, resentments. We can really go down um, a bad path there, as I like to refer to it as circling the drain. Um, but what I'd like to present today is the idea of how we can start to turn off some of the noise, decluttering some of those thoughts in our minds, whether that's, our past, our present, fear of the future, any of the things that seem to be weighing us down. And the number one thing I'd like to talk about today is journaling. And this has been something that I've struggled with a lot throughout my life. I think I may have been around the age of 10 when I first started journaling. And it was my best friend. It was the most amazing outlet. Made a brief reference in another video about a trauma that happened in my family around that age, and my father having a horrific accident that changed our world. And so I couldn't talk to my family about it. Everybody was literally in a state of trauma, and talking was not on the table. It was not our strong suit. So I found a little notebook and just started writing all my thoughts and feelings and fears and all of these things. And it was a place for me to go. It was an outlet, like having a best friend who was always on your side, that just listened to whatever you had to say, whatever was going on. And I didn't feel alone. It made me feel like I had a place to put things, and I didn't have to put them into my behavior. Unfortunately, I had a bad experience with a family member finding that journal and then being confronted with my thoughts and ideas and feelings as if I'd done something wrong. And that's very unfortunate because I lost my best friend. From that point on, I didn't feel safe writing things down. Um, so I did bottle them up. I did turn things inward. And it was many, many years later. Um, I was an adult, I think, and moved out on my own, college area, something like that, that I decided to try journaling again. And it was a very similar experience, maybe not as cathartic as the first go, but it was a place to put my innermost thoughts, my inner world, and bringing that to the surface to look a little deeper, know myself a little better. Because sometimes putting things on paper or even a digital record or something like that is the first time we actually hear our thoughts. When we're all cluttered in our heads and all these things going on, it's just like noise, and it's hard to stop and pick which thoughts to pay attention to and nurture, and which ones we need to heal. So, journaling in any capacity, I felt like was that opportunity to know myself better. I've struggled with this on and off for a lot of the same reasons that I mentioned to begin with poor boundaries with people along the way who didn't respect privacy. So I think that that is something I'll bring up right away. That privacy is important. Having a place you can go where you can talk openly, you can write openly, you can know that your space, your words, your property is respected and will not be violated. So I think that that's important. Um, but we'll get more into some of the structural pieces of this a little later on. Later on, as I tried journaling over and over again in many different avenues and types of journaling, journaling became a creative outlet. I started to write stories, stories that embodied a lot of the thoughts and feelings that I was having and maybe had had in different um, situations or times in my life. And I was able to create characters that embodied those experiences, those thoughts, those feelings. And as a result of that, coming up with um, just stories that were not about me, but were a reflection of me, was to me a form of journaling. So I have like seven, I think it's seven lesbian romance novels out there that are published. And that was a, maybe special to me type of journaling to create other worlds, other people, other stories that still told my story. So that's a unique benefit that I found through journaling, that it allowed me to become an author, something that I never anticipated happening, um, where you just sit down one day and start telling a story, and one thing leads to another, and 10 years later, you have seven novels out there. So maybe that can be your experience too, or something similar. So just thinking about journaling outside the box, that there are no rules, there are no expectations, there's no right way to do it. So the benefits for me there is, I found a new hobby that was beneficial, and that I met all kinds of new people, meeting authors from all over the United States, from other countries. And so that broadened my whole life experience with people I never would have had access to, or um, that opportunity, had I not started picking up that journal and writing down my thoughts and feelings. I also found that um, it was a way of letting things go. It became a way of putting the period at the end of the sentence and saying, okay, that story has been told now. I don't have to ruminate on it. I don't have to continue to process it and work through it and have it, intrude upon my thoughts anymore. So it was like putting things in a storage bin and moving them to the attic. So I found a lot of benefit in journaling. But that's just my story, and that's where I am today. As I don't journal on a daily basis. It's something that I'm working on, that I would like to get better at, and it is something that helps me keep ideas straight, set goals, um, track my progress, and keep my focus. So I think a journal, in that sense, can also be beneficial, um, to just keeping things together and keeping us on track. Part of journaling for me also was self discovery. I find that journaling allows me to dig a little deeper. Not only am I just writing down the events that happened for the day, you ask yourself, well, how did you feel about that? How did you respond to that? What triggered that emotion? Where was that coming from? Was that irrational experience, or was that being influenced by something from the past? Is this a pattern that I can see in my life? What are the other point of views that I can take? If I were to step into the shoes of maybe other people in that situation and try to see things from new perspectives. So it's a way of getting to know myself deeper. How do I approach conflict? How do I engage in crisis? How do I deal with silence? What is my comfort level with being alone and knowing myself? So that self discovery is a way of growing as a person, um, finding emotional maturity, um, calling yourself out on your shit. That's a good one. So I find that that is probably the biggest benefit that I would take away from journaling is the self discovery and how important that is for growing as a person. To me, self discovery is about learning to listen to yourself. It is slowing down, focusing on what you're writing on that page to the point that it's not just words. It's a way of, I think I mentioned this just a moment ago, is hearing your own thoughts, hearing your feelings explained in a way that until that moment, till you saw those words come out on the page, it hadn't occurred to you. Or there wasn't that depth of understanding of self. So, listening, learning to know yourself on a deeper level is one of the best benefits of journaling. So, I'd like to talk about 4 specific journaling techniques that um, I've experienced, that have worked for me in the past. This is not an exhaustive list. There are many more ideas out there, much more structured um, journaling techniques. And I just encourage you to look into it, try it. Just if this particular style doesn't work, try it, try a new style. If something's too structured, try something a little looser, and vice versa. So, the first technique that I'd like to talk about today is like a freestyle. And that is basically just a free flowing consciousness. You're just writing whatever comes to mind, whatever your thoughts and experiences and feelings, whatever you just want to express. And there's no goal, there is no rules, there's no expectation. But what they do have in a freestyle is usually a set time goal. I'm going to spend 10 minutes every morning as I have my morning coffee or tea, or for me, lemon water. Um, I'm going to just spend 10 minutes and I'm just going to write. I'm going to write whatever comes to mind, whatever happens, happens. Or you can do the same kind of theory of I'm going to write 4 pages front and back of material um, during my morning routine journaling. And so you set a timer for yourself, or you set that number aside, and you just pour whatever thoughts and feelings you have onto the page for that, meeting that criteria. It doesn't matter what it says. It doesn't matter if it's spelled right. It doesn't matter if it has punctuation. Um, doesn't matter even if the lines are crooked or whatever we get hung up on. But it's just a free flow, getting things out. It's a purging of scent of sorts. The next version of journaling that I'd like to talk about is guided journaling. Now, there are journals out there that you can purchase that have daily prompts that give you an idea of what topic to write about. Maybe they'll ask a question or give you a thought for the day. Some examples of guided prompts you may find in um, different areas. Maybe, how are you feeling when? Um, what what is a time in your life when you felt sad? So it can give you a little prompt like that, to just dig a little deeper, think about things so it can bring up memories. So sometimes we can look at that page and it just blank. And that can be pressure and it can feel like, well, I don't know what to write about. So sometimes these daily prompts can be that jumping off point, that starter, that icebreaker that helps us just get the words flowing, and you can take it wherever you want to go. You don't even have to stay on topic. You can go anywhere you want to. It's your journal, it's your thoughts, it's your feelings, it's your experiences, and it's just for your growth. So do what you want with it. One of my favorites, and I use this a lot, especially when we're having times like I was describing in the beginning where things just feel chaotic and stressful and overwhelming, is a gratitude journal. And it is exactly what it says it is. It is taking even the smallest details and noticing, paying attention to the things that you're grateful for in that day. Started this video out today with being very grateful for this weather, for the opportunity to be outside, to have the sunshine, um, to be warm. It's such a hopeful feeling to feel that spring and new beginnings are on the way. So it can be something as simple as sunshine, a rainbow, a bird song, um, someone buying you a cup of coffee, a smile from a stranger, a phone call from a friend, an unexpected gift, um, waking up in the morning, sobriety, health, family. You can go as deep as you want to go, but sometimes I find that the small things that often get overlooked is a great place to start. Um, it seems to set the tone for me. It um, is a nice way to be reminded not to take things for granted, to see the bigger picture. So, gratitude journal is definitely a way of changing that point of view, that perspective away from the doom and gloom and the sky is falling to there is hope. There is still good in the world. There is still good in the day. There's still good in you. So I would definitely encourage that in whatever style that you choose to explore in your world. Add a little gratitude. Gratitude goes a long way. The last journaling technique that I like to talk about kind of encompasses everything, and it's called therapeutic journaling. And therapeutic journaling is more than just the free flow. It's more than just gratitude. It's more than just writing down the events of the day. It is that asking yourself questions. It is digging a little deeper into what are your thoughts and your feelings? What are the patterns here? How do I set this up? What is my responsibility in what's happening in my world? Um, what are my triggers? Where is this coming from? So that self discovery. So, therapeutic journaling, I feel like, is the one where you dig deeper and challenge thoughts and beliefs, ask yourself questions. You can even play different perspectives off yourself, take on a different point of view and challenge and ask questions from that you may have heard from other people or you may have wanted to ask but were afraid to ask in real time in real space. So it does offer that opportunity to explore deeper thoughts and beliefs and feelings and everything all entwined. I don't, from what I've read and what I know, it isn't really recommended to go deep in therapeutic journaling if you have situations with like PTSD or something like that. So this is not therapeutic advice today, so I would really encourage you to seek out a professional if that's something that you have in your world that you need to work through and need some just support and guidance. So keep that in mind. Therapeutic journaling, that digging deeper, knowing yourself. So how do you start? I've heard a lot of people tell me that a lot of times they'll get a brand new journal, they're very excited about it, and they open it up and there's all these blank pages and they don't know where to start. So my recommendation for journaling is to set a time. Think about your schedule. Think about when you are most amenable to thinking about things. When you have time in your day, space, quiet, to be alone, whether that's that morning coffee we talked about or the evening routine before you go to bed at night, um, lunch hour whenever you're sitting in your car, sitting in a park. Um, it's going to be individual for each of us. So start out with a routine. Schedule that time. Practice it. It may feel awkward and uncomfortable at first, but the more you practice, the more you put yourself out there, the more you try some of these techniques that we're talking about, you'll find your flow. The second thing is I would recommend that the space that you're in be soothing. That may be a quiet room in your house, a comfy chair, a space outside. It can be a busy coffee shop. Some of us do better when there's more stimulation going on out there, or otherwise we have too many distractions. That's me. I do better when there's a TV on but on mute, radio playing, and somebody talking somewhere, and I can study, I can do whatever I need to do. If there's total silence, I've got a million thoughts running through my mind. Um, I need to clean this, I need to do that, I need to fix this, the list goes on and on. And it's hard to stick to it. So think about what is your comfort? What makes you feel introspective, that gives you the focus that you need to make this happen, whether it's a busy space or a quiet space. So you're building that structure. Identify your topic. We talked about having guided, and that kind of makes it a little easier for you to sit down and think about. Maybe you're just reflecting on your day. Maybe you're reflecting on the things, the events of the day before, and you're getting to know yourself. How did you respond to that? What were you feeling? What were you thinking? Was that a reaction or was that a response? To really put yourself in more control of learning who you are. Reading through the science around journaling, there's a lot of information out there that suggests that journaling reduces anxiety and stress and worry and depression. And beyond that, those emotional benefits, like we mentioned earlier, it has been shown to improve our physical health, that we can reduce our risk of chronic illnesses that are going to impair our ability to have more quality of life later. So there's a lot of benefit here beyond just words, and I hope that that's something that you'll keep in mind as you take this task on and find your path. Think about it too. Journaling can be an awesome way to just catalog your life. It's a written record of who you are, what your experiences are, what this world, what this life meant to you. So it is that written record that you can choose to leave behind for others, or it can be a very private, personal thing. And as we mentioned earlier, it's also a great way to track your growth, track your progress. If you've been journaling since you were 16 years old and you're my age, then that's a lot of life happening in that span of time that You see the emotional growth, the maturity, the life lessons, um, confidence building. There's just so much to that that you get to witness as you go back and revisit. Where was I 10 years ago? What was going on in my life then? How did I get through that? What worked for me? So it's a good way of just tracking growth, progress, keeping up with coping skills. What are your tools? What are the things that you value? Staying on track. Well, I hope that these brief examples of journaling can encourage you to start your own journaling journey. Um, whatever course you choose to take, whether it's a mashup of all of the above, give journaling a try. See how it works out for you. And if this is something that you've been doing for a long time, that you have a journaling story and you want to share what the impact journaling has had on your life, leave me some comments. I'd love to hear what works for you. I'm always taking in ideas on how I can improve myself and how journaling can be a better part of my life. So I hope this helps. I hope it's something that you'll give some thought. And for those of you, again, if you don't know me, I'm Donna, and this is Between the Pines. I hope to see you soon. Take care.